Good morning. Good morning. All right, so we're gonna get started. First, I want to just talk a little bit about the plan today. So the plan is going to be we're going to talk about the normal stuff that we do for the first 15 minutes. I may go a little bit longer into it, which is the stocks. Set up the option plays that we did yesterday. I'll jump into crypto a little bit, and then I'm going to spend a little more time than normal doing a little bit of TA on the tech stocks, right? Like Amazon, Google, and I'll throw Tesla in there. Look at that, getting a pre-market push right there. And so we'll talk a lot about kind of what we see, what's going on. I'm also going to talk about the ATAs and kind of what direction that's going, because many of you guys have seen, I mean, it was all over TikTok, and everybody got the email from KuCoin that KuCoin is it's an interesting one, right? So if KuCoin's conceding to the SEC on doing this KYC, then it's getting real, because KuCoin has been around for a while, and they have not really worried about the KYC for so long, right? And they actually have it to where even if you're in the U.S., if you're not KYC'd, you can't use the full exchange anyways. You can only do certain things. So they felt that probably like they were pretty protected from that, but they're going full KYC as of July 15th. So it's gonna be interesting, right? So we're obviously, you guys know, in the community, we're making that shift, that pivot over to tastytrade, which is going to allow us to do the ATAs on stocks. We'll probably set it up to do futures. The first thing we're setting up is to do options. Once we get the options up and live and rolling, right, then we'll release the future side of it. It's going to be far more profitable, I think, because not only can you take those puts and calls, but the fees are just so little. Like tastytrade fees, it's like $1 a contract, and I think max $10, something like that. So the fees are just so reasonable. In addition, to that, you can both go. You can still go both ways, right? Plus now, you're out of the crypto space, right? You're now into the stock space, which I know a lot of people feel a lot more comfortable with. So, and you guys know who trade options. Those in the community, you guys know. I mean, just the slightest bit of movement, you only need 20, 30, 40 cents, right? The way that we trade it, to capitalize on some pretty good money. So we'll talk more about that, but. Let's talk about our day yesterday. So let's go in here, and we'll take a look at our day plus how the indicators played it, right? So yesterday was Wednesday. We opened up right about here. It was this candle right here. And so immediately on open, right, you can see we had a little bit of pressure, but we were holding support. This is what we were talking about in the room. We did have a gap fill almost immediately come up, right? So we had an anticipation we were going to push north anyways. There was some calls that were placed on this last leg here, because we had, our 1-2 kind of triple bottom here. We came up, hit the retest, and boom, up it went, right? So it was a perfect play there. We did get a long call here, which did end up coming back a little bit, but at the end of the day, it played out, right? So it was a great call on the indicator. And once we got up into this range here, we had looked at kind of prior highs, right? So we had some previous highs. We knew that this was going to be pretty heavy resistance. On this one, I didn't really take anything pulling off here, but you can see this white line here. This white line, we just took kind of a short, kind of a 3-touch here, pulled it up, right? And it hit almost perfectly and rejected. I didn't want to touch it until at least it crossed the EMA, so we waited until here, and then once I got this short call, then I went ahead and took a quick scalp put right there. So made a little bag on that one. And then you can see the indicator was just super patient, right? As far as signals go, we had our Ninstar, which called perfect, our back crab, which called perfect. And then we had our long call, right? This one happened literally at market close, so I missed it. I did not capture that one. But you can see it was just a killer call. We took the call at 436.39, and as you see, we're at like 438, right? So our indicators absolutely crushed it yesterday. So it was just a very good day of trading. So where do we go next, right? So that's kind of the big key. So let's go ahead and just mute. Let's keep that. Actually, no, we'll mute this one, and we'll keep the rest on. So let's talk about like kind of what's next, right? So if you take this line and we just extend it out, right? We have the potential of opening up and getting as high as 48.15 or so, which is really, if you look at the pre-market, we just hit that, right? So if I were to open up this to extended hours like that, right, you're gonna see where we hit our peak, right? So we actually just hit about 48.15 right about there, right? And so if I were to take that line like we had it right there, and you can see we just literally came up, smacked it, and now we're rejecting. So you see that wick right there. So in the pre-market, it's already doing kind of what I would have charted out anyways. The question is, people are asking, like, are we bearish? Are we bullish? What should I do? The thing you want to look at is, one of the things that, since I've gotten into options and just kind of following that, that you want to watch is the max pain of when the options expire, right? And so max pain for options expiring tomorrow is actually 434 on the SPY. We're sitting at 437.50. So what does that mean? Typically, it means that they're trapping contracts up here. They're trying to capture more contracts up here, with the likelihood of trying to pull back somewhere into that 434, 435 range by tomorrow, because that's going to be the max pain, which is where the investors, the traders, are going to take the biggest hit, if that makes sense. And so a lot of the times, that when they have those contracts expiring, this is just a trap move, like a bull trap to push people up to capture those contracts. Can we go higher? I mean, it's possible. I don't know that we'll sustain higher, because if you look see right where it peaked off, right, this is exactly where it's hit many times before and just absolutely collapsed, right? And it hasn't hit that since 9 days ago, right? It's the first time it hit it. So and you can see, I mean, right as we're talking, right, it's pulling back pretty heavy. So from that, obviously we're pre-market, news. I would look at, if I wanted to continue to stay bullish, and I was looking to take any kind of calls today, I would look for it to stay above this 200 EMA. If it stays above it and you're finding support, take your other call, right? Our indicator here is calling for that bearish gap fill anyways. So, so far that's looking pretty good. So, the one thing I want to keep touching on is, again, guys, the daily can take days, it could take weeks to play out, right? But we did flip red on this daily, right? So we are pointing up a little bit. So we could see a little bit of a movement up right before the pullback. Also, if you look here, there's the potential that we could get the bounce here. We could kind of even climb up as high as 440, 441 before we get a true fall. And if that happens, right, that's now turned into a pretty nasty double top on the daily. So you'll want to really keep an eye on that potential there, right? The daily has not broken the 200 EMA. Actually, this is the 21 SMA. Sorry, the 200 is down here. So on the daily, we have not broken the 21 SMA since all the way back down here, right around 410 or so. This was our first retest even since 413. So, and it was so far a successful retest. So, we could have some slight upside, but again, I wouldn't suspect that we're going to push past 443, this line here, if we even make it past this one here, right? So we could just kind of do this over the next, few days. And then that would be a pretty great put setup right there, because this again is still red. Now if this flips green and starts to push up even higher, then you would want to wait for that curl back down for that push to red. But the 1 hour, currently we had a little bit of bearish divergence here with our up trend and our downtrend. We do have 1, 2, 3 points that we have touched now. And we're just continuing to have lower highs here. So that's now a 3-point touch bearish. So just be really careful taking the calls up here, because, especially on the SPY, it's going to be held up a lot by the tech stocks, which we'll talk about those in a minute. But the tech stocks, I mean, they're just so overbought. They've been doing really well, right? And could they keep going? Sure, but everything has a cool off at some point, everything. So let's talk about the Dixie. So the Dixie just had obviously some news. It did break above here. So this was the trend line we've been watching for a little while. I think this was let's pull it back. Yeah, this was just kind of that downtrend line right here that we were following, right? More localized. This red one is going to be more impactful, but this is the one that we were talking about. If the Dixie can break this, and then it has a chance to come out, back up and retest this, right? So far it looks like the Dixie's broken that. Which if it continues to climb, right, then we're gonna see a continued pullback for the SPY, the stocks, crypto, everything. So we may come down and get a retest for support on this trend line here, and then have the push up. So we'll watch that closely. The VIX is just doing a whole lot of nothing. So I haven't really done a lot of TA for the VIX. It's just kind of just hanging around. You could probably I would say take like this peak here and just drop it like that, right? This would be your breakout peak. So if we come down off this support and we get into this squeeze and it breaks this trend line right here that's coming, that would give you a pretty good push north, maybe back to 14 or so, which is going to drop the markets down. So let's talk about Apple. That's where the fall came. Look, Apple had its pullback right there, but not before reaching another all-time high. Jeez. Yeah. So Apple yesterday, was pretty wild. It yeah. I mean, you can see here in the after hours. I mean, it's just continuing to pound this. Did it make the all-time high? Looks like it did, barely though. Let's see, 189.90, 189.91 by a penny. So that's kind of why this looks like it pulled back. Possibly is that it basically double touched this and then lost some steam, right? But it is finding support on the same exact SMA that it's been finding support on. So I drew this white line here for Apple. If we need to break the SMA, obviously, and hold it, not just like this, right, where it keeps breaking it. We need to break it and actually hold as resistance. If it breaks this white line and holds as resistance, we're going to see a pretty nasty gap fill for Apple. So, because you got just a huge gap that it has to fill localized. So, if we do break this one, I would probably suspect we'll come back to at least 187. Maybe even as low as 185. As far as the all-time high goes, I mean, it's an all-time high, right? So sky's kind of the limit on that. I would probably just continue to, mark these peaks, right? So obviously we have now that is the kind of our peak of resistance. This is going to be our squeeze. So if it breaks this right here, it's obviously going to pump north. If it does not break it and it pulls back, right, obviously we're going to pull back pretty hard. If you go to the 1 hour on Apple, you can see, I mean, even in a larger scale, I mean, it's like, this is the channel that I drew here that we're just trading. This is going to be a huge channel because if you're wanting to continue, if you're a bull and you're like, man, Apple's going to the moon, you're crazy. You want to buy here, right, on support to pump up, right? So you'd want to buy it here. You'd want to buy it here, right, on your trades. You don't want to buy it here because each time it's hit here, right, there's always some form of pullback. So you can get a better entry. Don't be the guy that chases this all-time high, hoping to be a millionaire. I did end up finding a trend line. Actually, I forgot I had this posted, the green one. It's not much because there's not much to go on when you have all-time highs, right? But I just took this double peak right here, placed two lines because you only need two peaks for an all-time high hit, right? So there's a chance that we may break this and over time continue, up and then hit this around 203 before just the nasty fall. I'm gonna tell you right now, if we hit this, it's gonna be a pretty gnarly fall because you can see here, even on the second peak, it went from 182 to 154, right? And you can see each time, historically, aside from here, that it had a great run up, it had even bigger pullback. Great run up, even bigger pullback, right? So you don't want to be the guy that magically was able to buy right here. It's just not gonna be a good decision. We're super overbought. It continues to show bearish divergence because it's just climbing like crazy, right? So at some point, I see a retest down here as low as, 160, maybe 165. I would say if you're looking to go long, like I said, I would either wait for support off this channel, or if it does break this channel and holds as resistance, right, you may want to start playing the train down. So, but it's exciting to watch, I mean, anytime things are hitting all-time highs, right, it's always exciting. So Microsoft, not quite looking as strong. I actually was kind of looking at this potential head and shoulder. It did break, but it found early support. It came up. Now it's almost kind of like got this like kind of inverse look right here, right? So you can take Microsoft. If you're gonna trade Microsoft, I would be taking this peak here, and I would line it with that peak there. If we have our shoulder, head, shoulder, and then we break this neckline, right, then you're likely to get a pretty nice move north. However, if it can't break that, right, then it's just going to create a lower high, and we kind of have more of a little bit of a triple top here instead that would break down. But we are above the SMA for now. On the 1 hour. But again, all these tech stocks, if you really zoom out, I mean, they all have the same thing in common, which is a massive gap. Just a massive gap. I would take my low trend on Microsoft. I would hit this peak here, and I would just line it up with probably right there, right? So if you're looking to go long, I would probably wait for, pull back somewhere into the 327 range, 326. If you're a bull, if you're a bear, I mean, you could probably take some puts up in here, right, off of the indicator signals. If you really want to take the big swing for the fence, right, you're going to want to wait until not only it breaks this trend line, but probably this support line, right, because you want to create that lower low here. So, and then that would begin our descent down like that. So, which is done, before, right? It looks like this, and then boom, you get your descent. So, like I said, these type of runs, I mean, they're great, but they're just not sustainable. Even if you go to the SPY, if you go to the daily and you look back at back at bull runs, right? I mean, this thing went forever. It continued, for a long time. But there's still good pullbacks that you could do, right? If you are scalping some puts. But what goes up this high at some point always retraces. I mean, look at that. We had just an absolute tear, right? Which was pretty much bull market. And then look at that retracement that it had. So obviously it's the daily, right? It's going to take a little longer. So but that's what I got for that. Let's take a look quick at Google. Google's down a little bit in the pre-market. Not too bad though. This is the 2 minute. Oops. Let's take a look at the extended hours and see what it's been doing. So extended hours, I didn't see anything I really liked, right? We kind of have a double top here on the neckline, and it's fighting the SMA on the 2 minutes. So if it can't break this, right, we're definitely in store for some short-term pullback. So, I don't see anything I really like super clear on Google, to be honest with you. Let's take a 1 hour look here. What I would probably do with Google is go to the 1 hour and create, just do what we always do, guys. You guys know this, we box it in, right? So obviously we can't take, we could probably take this peak. Let's do that. Let's take this one. We're going to bypass these wicks. And the reason why I'm doing that is because obviously this was a very substantial resistance line because it came down. And the importance of this is if it can't hold this, then it's going to just do what this did, right? It's going to just pull it all the way back down. However, if we can flip this, and you can flip this POC on the 1 hour, and then we flip this trend line as well as this looks like the 200 EMA, then you could take that call. So I would say if you get up to about 121 or so, you're probably clear to take a call if you hold support. But for right now, it's a dangerous call if you were to take that. So I'd be really careful on that. But that's the line I would do for that one. Let's check out Amazon. Amazon looks like it's bleeding a little bit already. Just look at our indicators, just calling red like crazy. So it nailed that. Some bearish divergence. The one thing I was saying about Amazon that's interesting is look at our zone tracker. It is calling heavy, 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 heavy support. So even if we bleed back down to 128 or so, it's got to break this level to see further downside. Which obviously this is heavy support down here as well. But it doesn't really have a heavy resistance really anywhere that it's calling local. I don't see anything up here. Interesting. But you can see the Amazon has a little bit more of a bear flag kind of looking, right? You got your channel moving up, right? And it's kind of at its lower part of that channel. So if this happens to break, it should have a pretty good fall down. Our indicator's calling short, double tops like galore. Yeah, I would be really careful on Amazon calls today. The 1 hour. 1 hour, you got some divergence, bearish divergence here. You got it, again here, right? Because you got your equal or higher tops and you got your lowers. So lots of bearish divergence popping out. I would say if you want to take a call on Amazon, I would aim for around 127. Wait for this 200 EMA retest and then ride that back up. I would not take it up here because it's just too risky. I don't know that I would enter a put right away. I would probably want to wait on a put until you potentially get a retest up here, or you flip this 200 and ride this down. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So let's jump into crypto. So Bitcoin, I'm gonna mute this. I love the Harmonic Tracker Pro. It's my favorite one, but it's very noisy when you're trying to do trend lines and stuff. So a lot of times I'll come in and just mute it. So if you look at Bitcoin, we've been talking about this resistance level for some time, around 30,800 or so, 790. And it just continues to hold. You can see it even held here again. We're kind of looking very double top-ish on Bitcoin. You got kind of a push here on the 2 minute anyways. So if we go to a higher time frame, let's see how that looks. So we still have that very double top kind of look. It is trying to break out of it. Let's see if it still shows in the 15 minute. And you can kind of see a little bit better. If you see a double top or double bottom and it's kind of stretched, right, go to a higher time frame, it'll consolidate that. And then if you go to like a 30 minute, see now it's maybe not as clear. So that gives you an idea of how quickly it may break out if it does break out. Bitcoin, you can see on the 15 minute, we are overbought heading down. We have not broken red yet though. So let's take a look at the 1 hour. 1 hour, we are calling gap fills down here as low as like 30,470. We do have a POC here around 30,390 from our indicator. So a retest down there would not shock me. If I'm wanting to take longs on Bitcoin, I would not do it here because you're up against the ceiling. I would wait until you flip that 30,800. Even if you miss the wick, just catch the retest, right, and then push up, because we could get it as high as back to 31.4. But keep in mind we are at the top, so we could come back down as low as back to the 200 EMA around 29.8 on Bitcoin. So that's the range that I would play. We are seeing gap fills here. There's really not, see this one was filled, so there's really not any gap fills up, right? So the gap fills are mostly down. We have a big one. No, actually this one was caught right here. We do have this big one down here around as low as 28.4, so we may hit that over time because the gap fills they fill at some point for sure. Let's take a look at the daily. Yeah, so even the daily, we're still overbought. We haven't broken red though on Bitcoin, so the big fall's not there. But you can see I did draw this right here. You got this kind of like peak line. I basically drew this off of just a 2 peak, and you can see it's held up on the daily pretty well, right? We just keep rejecting. Now we're lower. So. And again, lines up with about 30,780. So if we can't break that 30,780, down we go. I mean, even look at the daily, right? The daily gap fill has us coming down as low as 28, which obviously the daily that could take days or weeks to play out. So, but keep an eye. You'll know when you're getting that big break because this is going to flip red. So, Ethereum. So currently we're in a short for Ethereum. So it's been flipping back and forth. It looks like scalping. So you had a little short here. It did try to flip long on this. one here, and then it's flipping back to short here, right? So whenever you get, this is part of the rules that we teach in the room, right? Whenever you get a kind of a flip flop like this, it's hard to tell which one to take, right? So you got to take other things into consideration. You got to take the fact that, you know, we do have this bearish divergence coming up where we're creating higher highs, but we have lower highs coming through here. You got to take in consideration, you know, is the blue lines above it? Is it below it? Where the EMA is, right? These are the rules that we teach. So, so that, you know, kind of helps you as far as which one to take. And, you know, because even the greatest indicator, right, news and volume is always going to confuse it, because if you get a big candle up, right, the indicators are going to line up saying, hey, the volume's coming in, let's go, right? But there might be some other things that we use rules or other indicators that track more range or support resistance that would say it might, you know, it might be a fake out, because the market makers, that's what they do, they try to fake you out on your indicators there. So, but Ethereum, as far as that goes, you know, you all know I was kind of following this trend line here. It was kind of a wonky trend line, right? Because we did break it. I just kind of left it. If you pull down here, we are above that. So I'm just going to delete that for now. But you can see it looks like yesterday we did have that pullback down to about 1814. And if y'all remember, if you go back and watch the huddle from yesterday, I said this white line would be a pretty good support line, which look at that wick. I mean, it literally hit right on the white line and went right back up, right? And then if you follow along, right, with the indicators, again, you know, we have this short call here, right? But then when you look at this short call, we're surrounded by support. You know, we have our Bollinger was green, you know, at the time. We have this red line that we're above. It's just, you know, you would be patient on this and wait. You notice it immediately flip long. Now you have a long on support. You got the 121. I mean, just a ton of things supporting that long, right? So, and you don't really have any kind of like, you know, divergence saying that, hey, this one's probably right. If anything, you know, it's pointing more upward. So these are kind of the rules that we teach along the way as well. So, but it caught that long, it just perfectly nailed that, and then up we went, right? So, as far as Ethereum, you know, low and high, kind of where I think, I would just start out, you know, take the trend line from here to here, pull it down. If we break that trend line, then you're definitely going to see some more northern. Let me mute this bad boy. Delete that arrow. So I would just take, you know, just find a 2-point spot like this, and that would be kind of like your guideline, right? So if you do break above this one, then you're likely to head up at least to the next resistance levels, which will probably be somewhere between 1890 and, you know, this upper at 1910. I said for like a week straight, Ethereum's going to struggle at between 1900 and 1920, because that is just massive resistance. And you can see it struggled, right? We got up to 1930 here, and it just lost it. Try to regain it 1912, and it just lost it, and it created a lower low right within here. So we're in a lower high, lower low situation, right? So you could almost take two lines here. You can have this lower line there, and you can take this peak here, right, for something a little higher. So this, usually when I do this, it's kind of my breakout point. So if we were to break out here, hold support, the next level that we probably would reject would be somewhere around 1896. And we'd have to flip this line in order to come up to retest that prior high. So hope that helps with that. I only got about 2 minutes left, but I don't have a lot to go over on the ATAs. I'm going to open my alerts. Y'all can see I'm only running LTC left for those that are copy trading. That is why you're not getting alerts. For these other pairs, I began to monitor it really close. With KuCoin putting out their notice, I wanted to give people opportunity to get their money off. I understand that they say you have till July 15th. Remember, KuCoin, all these other exchanges, they have a lot of people that are in the US that are going to try to get their money off, right? And at the end of the day, just secure your bag. I mean, the few extra, you know, $100 or $1,000 that you may make, right, trying to stretch out the automation till the 15th, it's not going to be worth the risk of losing everything. So, you know, as a copy trade, you know, I felt responsible to try to scale those trades back, to allow you the opportunity to get out, so you did not have to close those trades at a loss. So the only one we did not get out of was LTC. I did miss that one. I did not see the alert come through. It did close it yesterday. We did get one DCA. I'm not too concerned on it. You can see this was our DCA. Our entry is like 83.74. This is where we are. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an existing trade so I don't have to watch it. My suggestion to you is if you are on a smaller ATA and the loss is not very big, I'll just close it, take your money out, right? Secure your bag. But I will work my way out of this one for you. So we're going to take this right here. And again, you guys know we do 1 minute before. So at 19:35 on the 28th is when we want to change it to. $19.35, and we're just, all we have to do is change this to enable, and then this should turn teal if I did it right. There it goes. And so now what that means is once this one gets out in profit, it will not take any more trades. I'm not going to add a second DCA. I'll just monitor it. I mean, we have 15 days to get out, right? Because, you know, we could see, if we do break some higher levels here, right, we could see at least a push up to this 90 range or even higher, right? And so I'm just going to let it kind of roll and do its thing. But the good news is once this fires, it will not fire anymore. You guys will be out. So I will probably not be opening more trades for KuCoin. It is Thursday, and we're like this close to releasing the Tasty Trade one. If you guys are running the ATAs, I know y'all love the ATAs and you want to continue to do it. I highly recommend you begin opening a Tasty Trade account. That is where our ATAs are going to be running off of. You know, and it is KYC, right? Know your customer. So you're going to have to provide your license, all that stuff. Don't worry about how you had to go around things on BitGet. The beauty of us going to Tasty Trade is it is a fully U.S. regulated place to go, right? So we don't have to worry about any of that stuff that we had to worry about on some of these crypto exchanges. So but it does take time. You know, when you make your account, you do your KYC. That typically could take, you know, a day or so to get approved. Sometimes it's quicker. But funding it is what takes time. The first time you fund the account, I mean, it could take anywhere from 3 to 5 days before they allow you to actually trade that, right? So, you know, now's the time to make that account, get it ready, get your money out of crypto, put it in your bank, take it from your bank, put it back into Tasty Trade. The other bonus about Tasty Trade or those type of exchanges is that there's no fee for putting it in and taking it out and moving it around. Like crypto, we're used to just being abused with fees. I mean, there's a fee for this, a fee for that, fee for moving. I mean, you feel like sometimes you just look at your crypto and you just got charged a fee, right? And so getting out of that space is a good thing because, you know, now you truly get over to, you know, Tasty Trade where it's linked into your account. You know, as you earn with your ATA, you can just literally do withdraw, put it in your bank, and it charges you nothing. So, which is amazing. So we're super excited for this pivot. You know, just stay tuned. You know, we're really close. Like I said, we had a lot of breakthroughs yesterday. You know, we just did kind of like a stress test on our servers. Initiating trade after trade after trade after trade after trade after trade, and we literally did like 100 and some odd trades, and not one error, everything fired like that. So we're super happy with that test that came back, and then now we're just kind of finalizing the strategy, right? Because obviously, you know, when you look at these strategies, there's a lot of viable stuff that we will use, but we need to add things in there, like, you know, how many days of the contract are you gonna do? You know, and we're going to have additional stop loss features in there because some people who want to do a bot for options, you may not want it to carry a contract over to the next day. You might want to say like, look, either I had a good day or I had a bad day. You know, I don't want to carry contracts. So we're going to add an option that will, you know, 15 minutes before close or somewhere around there, it will just automatically kill that contract. And it's not by default. You can choose it if you want to. So our goal is, you know, anytime we build these automations, as you guys know, is to put as much control in your hands, but give you the guidance to where it's not overwhelming. And again, if you don't know how to trade options, you don't know how to trade at all, but you're like, man, this sounds good, I want to make some extra cash. we will be doing copy trade. Copy trade is actually the first thing we're going to release before we give the indicator, because I want to do a few huddles to show y'all how to use it. But you can get your accounts ready. You can copy trade it. Keep in mind, everything we do copy trade is recorded like this. It's on our website, so it's fully transparent. So you might look at it and go, I'm not really feeling it, or you might look at it and go, I'm in, right? But I think it's going to be an amazing pivot that we're making. Again, options will be first. We're very close. I would say within early next week to releasing that. I get a lot of questions, obviously, with bots. People get concerned about back test. Again, you have the indicator on your chart. You can back test it all day long. You want, to see how the strategies would work, what what the trades it would have took, how it looks. The power's in your hands, so which is very, very different. There's nobody out there doing it like that, right? Everybody else, you just say, hey, put your money in here, and I'll let the bot trade it for you, right? And then you don't really know what the bot's thinking, how the performance was, how the back test. But here you have that full control. If you're a bull, right, you can take only put calls. If you're a bear, you can take only puts, or you can do puts and calls, right, if we're in the range. So it's gonna be pretty exciting. But I am 5 minutes over. If you guys have more questions, TikTok, hang around. I'll look at your comments here shortly. And then in the community, give me about 10-15 minutes. We'll put out the we will put out the room. So man, look at that pre just took a beating. I wasn't even watching that. You see that? Remember we were talking about the max pain, right? And then that rejection off of there. I wasn't even watching it. But yeah, I mean, it basically just absolutely collapsed off of that line we drew. So it's setting up again. We'll play a range. And if you guys want to come in and hang out and just ask questions, all you guys have to do is sign up with an email. You go to botjock.com. You can sign up for even the free one. All it requires is an email. And then you can come in and ask questions and check it out. And I'm sure we'll be talking about the ATAs quite a bit today, so because it's really exciting. But appreciate your guys' time in the community.